Movidiam podcast. Join the conversation with global innovators as they share their journeys, discuss the state of the industry, and share insight into the future of media for brands, agencies, and production companies.
Hello and welcome to the Creative Leaders Podcast. Today I'm delighted to welcome George Hintzen, who is the founder and CEO of TOAD.ai. George, just quickly hit us. TOAD, one-liner, what is it for our listeners?
TOAD is a planning and buying tool for outdoor advertising in the UK.
A very, very well rehearsed. I believe the industry calls that the elevator pitch. It's great to have you. It's great to have you on, George, and you're probably well rehearsed at the elevator pitch, having been and pitched on the BBC's Dragon's Den.
Coming out of the elevator in the studios, exactly. Very different pitch actually from a lot of sort of venture capital pitches, which are really jargony. Actually, that was more of a sort of civilian, very
tactile
pitch,
chemistry, predatory.
What was that? Sorry.
It's a bit more tactile, a bit more chemistry based.
It was a bit more just like people can understand it. It was actually very good exercise because not everyone's in sort of venture capital and technology, so a lot of the time these jargony explanations I think just go over people's heads. But the BBC did tell us to just tone it down and make it like very sort of palatable language, very easy language. Basically.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. I think venture capital, although there is a very strong and interesting community, it is obviously totally inaccessible to the majority of people because it's quite a niche area. Venture capital doesn't scale. Interesting. So outdoor advertising, outdoor advertising directory. Particularly interesting thing going on in outdoor advertising during this time of COVID. In fact, I've seen some creative out there, which is people that are using the fact that nobody are on the streets with outdoor advertising to put up creative, which kind of makes people laugh. The fact that no one's going to see those adverts, and therefore it becomes good digital advertising. So really fusing or reversing or acting as an equilibrium from digital to outdoor. There, let's discuss that. That's quite interesting.
Yeah. I think that's the exciting part about outdoor advertising, which includes things like billboards, bus stops, phone boxes, and these sort of large format screens and posters, if anyone's sort of wondering. That's all sort of considered part of the same media channel, basically. And over the last couple of years, there's been massive move to digital. So they're taking down all their posters and converting them all into screens. So you can be much more responsive, and you don't have to sort of wait 4 weeks to get it printed and delivered and stuck up. You like you do on the print posters. Now you can sort of within 24 hours or even shorter change your creative and serve like a different image on the screen. And it is really popular with to capture people on the go, right? So you can serve it on their phone and they walk past the screen and they see the same thing. So it is good to reinforce people on the go, but people are not on the go so much these days. So outdoor advertising not as popular with brands while people are indoor.
Yeah.
But they have been quite good. The people, the media owners who own and operate these sites have donated lots to charity because charity is struggling as well because people are tight these days. So I think they're receiving less donations. They've donated a lot of their sort of brand space to charities and just sort of positive mindset.
Where everyone's got to have purpose at the centre of their sort of thesis as a business these days, I think, to maintain momentum and a positive attitude with customers. But George, tell us, how did you get into sort of outdoor advertising and the kind of a digital approach towards it? What's the journey been thus far?
Right, so I'm an architect originally, so I was used to sort of doing master planning and mapping at a micro and macro scale, where people move and where they are, like inside a building and around town. So I sort of was wondering what happens to, why is there not a central directory, where you can quickly look up and book billboards, basically, because I wanted to do it for a friend's birthday. And then I just said about combining the ideas of sort of geo-spatial data and mapping onto the combined sort of directory of all the operators. So that was the starting point. Yeah, I found it difficult to assess where these locations were, or what the kind of audience profile of that location was, or the cost, or the availability. So
you're building visibility for marketeers with budget that want to kind of target. Well, they want to get into the workflow of a commuter or someone walking around or wherever that advert might be, and you're building visibility for them of where they are and the cost and the sort of audience they might have, that in an experience that they can kind of plan and do online digitally, or so they don't have to go through an agency which is selling them in inverted commas the space, but perhaps giving spurious results about who's seen it and what profile they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way agencies work sometimes can be them chasing sort of rebates and sort of revisiting their favourite operators who give them the best rates, and they can cut the best sort of margin off that. So yeah, the idea is to make it more agnostic, so it's unbiased. We just say, this is where your audience is, and these people have billboards in that area. You should book those if you want to reach that audience.
And how big's the team today?
It's about sort of 5 people. It's pretty small.
I mean, those are the best sort of teams out there, aren't they? I mean, if you can keep them small and build the network large and get a lot of buyers in, I mean, that's the way to build a business, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's good now because I guess we've got a fairly lean cost base and flexible workforce. But yeah, the developers sort of grow and shrink, and they are a mixture of onshore and offshore. Actually, there's just been a tropical storm / cyclone offshore, so they've had a bit of a problem recently, as in still today, over the last few days. But I think all we're hearing is Corona news. But yeah, there has been some cyclone where they are currently. So they're sort of sent us some pictures of trees and cars strewn across the road. So
and what sort of coverage have you got? It's just across the UK, or are you planning to go global, or what's the?
Global would be ideal. We've had some requests to license the platform offshore in other sort of overseas territories, and yeah, we are currently just the UK. We have worked with the Department for International Trade, the DIT, which is the UK government's sort of organisation for helping people export. You know that sort of catchphrase, what is it, exporting is great, I think it was.
Yeah.
They went in sort of overdrive after Brexit to find new export markets outside the EU. So they've been really helpful in identifying, alternative export markets. And we had an inquiry from South Africa, Mexico, Japan, New Zealand. Yeah, so I think Malta as well. So inquiries sort of license the product over there, and then they would have a local team or whatever kind of licensing or distribution model we settle on.
And what sort of who are the customers today? What sort of people are coming to your platform today?
So we mostly work with brands directly.
Yeah.
And then we'll be sort of the interface between the media owners, the people who own and operate those screens, and the brands, and then they'll say, what do I book to spend my budget in the sort of most efficient way? And so real estate, during COVID, I guess it's probably relevant for people right now. Real estate seems to still be going ahead fairly full steam. I think the government just said, real estate is sort of an important sector, so agents and construction workers can go back to work, I think. Was sort of a little bit what they were suggesting in a safe sort of distanced way if possible. Real estate, they've got... they want to sell their units, and they've built units, and they've got sort of finance costs, and they've invested money. So I've got some inquiries from care homes, residential developments, and co-working spaces to advertise, because they've got units that have just come online, and they obviously need to move those along.
Get those, yeah. It's quite a challenging time just for that, isn't it? But
they're still in sales mode. Otherwise, a lot of brands are sort of investigating options for the future, so they want to know, and then maybe they'll go in sort of, are we in Q3? Not quite yet. Q4 seems like the busy time when people expect there to be sort of September time-ish. People might be able to go outside more. So, what is that? I can't even think. Universities, education as well right now, because it's sort of application time and UCAS deadline.
Yeah.
Further or higher education is real estate has been coming through quite a lot recently.
And looking at your technology or the data that you capture, I mean, for clients, I mean, are there any interesting discoveries or insights that perhaps might not have been available before you came along?
So we are the first platform that has given this consolidated view of the market, and has actually. So because we didn't actually know how many pins would turn up, and initially I got my brother's friend to cycle around a postcode, which was Camberwell in London, just to see how many pins we'd pick up in one postcode. It was SE5, so we needed to have an idea of the density of data that we were going to have to display on our website.
Yeah.
So that's become a big thing that we now. I think our competitor platform was something similar. Can only display 1,000 pins, but that really wasn't working because it would freeze if you zoomed out anymore. So we can display something like 20,000 at the same time. So you really get a good view of the market.
And those pins being boards or advertising panels.
Yeah, billboards, bus stops, phone boxes, lamppost banners.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of roadside environments. And then we got really interesting stuff like pharmacy network and a gym network, which is now closed, unfortunately, for the time being. And then you can get really sort of targeted audiences, and things like apparel and supplements are, for example, really popular for the gym environment.
Yeah, interesting.
Internal. And internal stuff seems to be more lightweight, basically just screens fixed to the wall, and less purpose-built stuff, like the billboards, for example. And it's much less robust because you have to deal with all the weather stuff, sort of vandalism requirements. But
and do you find that
a lot of pins and consolidating the market was a big thing, and letting the platform still work at a reasonable speed, at a pretty good speed actually, and also the audience data. So we're the first public platform to have this sort of agency level audience data widely available.
And so just to be clear, all this, so the phone box might have a different owner to the gym or to the outdoor sign or to the bus stop, and you're gathering that all together to have one single point of truth for an agency or a brand that wants to kind of get on a phone box, but also get on a bus stop and also get on a billboard.
Exactly, yeah. You can assess the opportunities, and actually you get much more segmented audiences with the specialized internal audience, which we quite like. So the gyms, the residential lobbies, the pharmacies, even the post office network. The veterinary clinic network. So you get quite more specific audience profiles there. So or you can go on the roadside, which is a more general demographic.
Yeah, you've got a sort of you're a double-sided marketplace really, because you've got the buyers and then you've got these niche people who want to kind of basically probably create revenue for offering a screen. Doctors all have a screen in their waiting room, don't they?
Exactly, yeah, and exactly right. So each operator would generally have like a specialism, and there might be I don't know if there'd be a franchise sort of GP clinic network, but that's the ideal thing where you grab the whole network in one go. So and how does in London, JC.co works with TfL. Yeah, and they've got that concession for the entire bus stop network.
Yeah, and how do you interact with sort of JC.co and all those other bigger players? I mean, are they frenemies, or how does that work?
In principle, they like it because I think as long as we don't create too much mess, but it's fine. Basically, we are seen as another sales channel and a conduit to generate awareness for their imagery. Yeah. And I think to some extent it's more useful for the smaller ones actually, because people like JC.co will already have a fairly good presence and sort of share a voice in that market. Yeah. So actually the smaller ones benefit more from a level playing field and awareness. A bit like what Rightmove did to realtors and estate agents. Yeah. Everyone suddenly has like a website and technical infrastructure to generate leads and like a phone number, and so it's probably more useful for the small to medium ones, but equally the larger ones as well, I think, because it makes it easier to plan. And I think outdoor used to have, or still does a little bit, a notoriously high administrative burden, which is what agencies tell us. Like, they just can't be bothered because there's just too much faffing, and you get maps and spreadsheets, and you have to talk to 10 different operators, and it's just a bit of a mess. So
you can show them in a nice user experience how to buy it.
Yeah, across multiple suppliers, and how to assess the opportunities and the audience data at the same time. So it's not perfect, but it is a very powerful medium, and if it all works the same way as online, it would be, I think it'd be quite amazing, yeah.
And what sort of scale do you think it can get to?
That's a good question. Well, the blue sky is programmatic IoT, which is probably the wrong way to say it, but it's like, automated. Instead of buying locations, you're buying audience. So rather than buying sort of fixed screens for 2 weeks, which is the normal buying cycle, you say, if all the screens were digital and connected, you'd say, just follow my audience around town. So it would automatically move screens, and basically like it does online.
Yeah.
It would track that audience. A bit like Minority Report sort of style.
Yeah.
Seems to come up quite a lot. That relies a lot on the technical infrastructure of the operators, the media owners. Obviously, you can't do that in posters, and some of their digital screens aren't connected. So, yeah, it relies a lot on the infrastructure on the supply side,
Interesting.
The operators.
Interesting. Good. And how do you think, in general, it's difficult not to mention the sort of the COVID and how people are doing. What are your general comments about how your business is going to be affected? I mean, people still need to communicate and get their message out there. I mean, how do you think that you're going to be affected by the current circumstances?
Well, out of home is down pretty steeply. I think the ballpark numbers I'm getting is, I think TV is down 20-25%. I've no idea if this is very accurate, but broadly what I've been hearing is that sort of down 20-25%. Radio's down 20-25% as a comparable sort of mass marketing channel. And then, but out of home is down sort of 90% year on year in terms of sales figures.
Yeah.
So that one, out of home has been hit quite substantially. Because I think feasibly you still, if you're in your home, still listen to radio and TV.
Yeah.
I think digital has gone up, but I think net down maybe. I'm not sure because overall spend is down. But digital is still good because it's very personal and you'll get people anywhere, especially at home. But out of home is down actually.
Yeah.
But we went on Dragon's Den, right? Sort of when lockdown started, really, and that's been really interesting to generate leads and awareness.
Interesting. And did you take some money from Dragon's Den?
Than before, but I'm not sure that's true for everyone.
And did you get some investment from Dragon's Den?
Yeah. So we work with Tej Lalvani, whose family business is Vitibiotics, which is a sort of supplement group of products.
Okay, great.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I just forgot all the product names. But they have sort of a range of drinks, Well Man and Well Woman, and hair products, and they have sort of brand ambassadors like Holly Willoughby, David Gandy, and Nicole Scherzinger.
Great.
And you see them on the tube and buses and London's public transport network quite a lot.
Great.
Which is going to be quiet now. But I think they've moved some of their spend to large format roadside instead, because they've still got good traffic numbers. Whereas public transport, I think people have been deterred from going on that. So that's it's moved a little bit, the strategy recently.
Interesting.
More to roadside from public transport.
Good. Well, look, George, it's been really interesting to kind of dive into your business and the way you're thinking about things. And I think that nirvana of sort of Minority Report style advertising, jumping from screen to screen around a physical city, is an interesting future. If you can get it there.
I think it might take a while, to be fair. I think it might be a 5-10 year kind of thing to get to that level of responsiveness and automation. But it's sort of getting there bit by bit. It will probably take a little while, but I can definitely see it happening. Yeah.
Brilliant, George. Well, it's been a great pleasure to have you on the podcast today. And for those wanting to check out the site, TOAD.ai is where it resides. And I'm sure George will be delighted to respond to any inquiry.
Absolutely. Yeah, get in touch. And George, thank you so much for the interview. Yeah, great. Pleasure to be here.
You've been listening to the Movidiam podcast. Movidiam is a world-class network of production talent complemented by secure tools that blend hiring, communication, and payments. Find out more at movidiam.com.